to Box Office Maniacs and the Big Five. We are continuing our 5 months of all the big blockbuster summer film.
That would be The Amazing Spider-Man 2. You know, as an original title.
Yeah, so if anyone had ever watched our first review for Spider-Man...
You know, all three people.
Yeah, all the three people that watched the review, you would know that Vince and I thought about it. It was alright. I thought it was okay. I still like Sam Raimi's version better. A lot better. At least the first two movies.
You know, I liked it. There were things I liked about it, but there was things I didn't like about it. And I thought overall it was okay.
The thing that the first movie had going for it was a cool villain. I liked the Lizard. I thought they did a really cool job with the Lizard.
But one thing that we didn't care for, the biggest thing that we didn't care for, was that they went into the origin of Spider-Man again.
And the other thing I didn't like besides that was the Spider-Man suit. I thought it was probably the worst looking Spider-Man suit ever. It was horrible looking. It had yellow eyes and it was textured. It was just horrible looking.
Yeah, I wasn't too impressed with it either. What it kind of reminded me of, though, kind of had that, what was that, Spider-Man 2099 that came out in the comics?
Spider-Man 2, actually Spider-Man 5, is, it should just call it Spider-Man 5. That would have been a better title. This is a total opposite now of what I liked about the first movie. I didn't like about this movie, and there was things about I didn't like about this movie like about the first movie. It's like a total opposite now. First of all, the Spider-Man suit in this movie, hands down, the best Spider-Man suit I've ever seen, period.
And actually, I would kind of agree with. I don't know. I still like the Sam Raimi one.
This Vince is Spider-Man. That's what Spider-Man should look like, with the big eyes, just the way they did the costume. Everything about this suit, I loved. It's probably one of my favorite, besides Iron Man, suits I've ever seen on screen.
I like this Spider-Man suit way better than Amazing Spider-Man, than the first film. I love this one. It was fantastic. Yes, he looked more like he should have looked in the first film.
Okay, so that's a definite plus for this movie, with the Spider-Man suit.
And as long as we're talking about suits... First thing I have to say real quick here is back when they first announced that they were going to do Spider-Man 2, when they first showed the very first picture, the very first image from Spider-Man 2, it was an image of ELECTRO. And I have to say, when I first saw that first image of ELECTRO in this film, played by Jamie Foxx, I thought it was the crappiest looking ELECTRO I think I've ever seen. I thought it was absolutely... Now, I didn't expect to have the yellow and green jumpsuit thing.
Even when I was a kid, I thought that was the stupidest costume ever. I never liked that. I thought that was the dumbest costume, like a big electric spark for a mask. Probably the worst costume ever.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was the dumbest looking thing I've ever seen. But when I saw this, I'm talking about this is the first picture that they ever showed. Maybe it was just the way it was pictured. I don't know. But it just looked horrendously bad to me. I thought, man, that's just terrible. But when the movie finally came out, I finally saw the movie here. And actually, when I saw it in the trailer, I was a little more impressed with it. And then when I saw it in the movie, I was a lot more impressed with it.
Yeah, I agree. His effects were so incredible in the film. It's like, I couldn't stop looking at it. I mean, everything, there was so much stuff going on with him. And he was one of the most impressive effects I've seen for a person, anyway, that I can remember. I mean, he reminded me a little of John from The Watchmen. Kind of how they did his glow, and you sort of could see his insides, sort of, like the electricity going through him. But they took this to the other level. I mean, he looked incredible in this movie.
But I have to say, for as incredible as he looked, I wasn't all that impressed with his character. And the reason being is, I thought from the moment I saw him, from the very first moment I saw him and the way Jamie Foxx acted this part, I was like, this is Jim Carrey from Batman Forever. I mean, it's almost a cardboard cutout of Jim Carrey from Batman Forever, the way his character is. Not that Jamie Foxx did a bad job. I'm just saying that the character itself in the movie was straight out of Batman Forever, as Jim Carrey did with the Riddler.
I thought that before he turned into Electro, the before Jamie Foxx,
He's what you call fugly.
I mean, he was okay, but then when he actually became Electro, he was amazing. I mean, he was actually almost frightening in the movie. He was an actual threat. I mean, because he was so overpowered. I mean, it was like, what would even Spider-Man be able to do with this guy? But here comes a big problem for me in the movie, Vince. Here it is. You ready for it?
Okay, go for it.
As an amazing character as Electro was, they didn't do anything with him.
My biggest problem with this movie is it became Batman and Robin. There's like 19 stories going on in this movie.
First plot line we got in this movie is Peter Parker with Gwen Stacy.
The subplot to that, though, is you've got Gwen Stacy's dad. A separate subplot, him looking for his dad.
Another subplot is that she is moving away from college, so that's like the next subplot.
Then you have the obvious story plots of Electro, the RHINO.
Well, don't bring the RHINO into it yet. The RHINO's not the subplot yet.
And then Harry Osborn.
And that's an entire subplot between him and Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy, and those are 14 other subplots happening.
Then you've got Aunt May.
It seemed like she was just an afterthought, that they had to give her a role in this film, so she's in it for more than 5 seconds. And it was stupid. That whole thing didn't even need to be in the movie. There was another subplot of Spider-Man not wanting to be Spider-Man.
He didn't want to be Spider-Man anymore, which is exactly right, taken directly out of Spider-Man 2.
But you mentioned RHINO. I gotta say something about RHINO here. What happened to RHINO exactly? I don't. What happened, Vince?
It's kind of really hard to explain RHINO.
Well, he's not in the movie that much. He's in it for about 5 minutes. I go get you, Spider-Man! I shall kill Spider-Man! It's like, what's going on with this guy?
I am the RHINO!
What's happening?
That was horrendously bad.
So those are the bad things about the movie. But there was really good things about the film as well. Like the first, I would say, about 35 to 40 minutes of this movie, I really enjoyed. I was really getting into it. The action sequences are mind-boggling in this film. Just Spider-Man when he's flying around the city and doing his acrobatics, it's the best of any Spider-Man movie ever. The effects of this movie are outstanding.
This film actually did look like a Spider-Man comic. I mean, he looked like Spider-Man. It felt like Spider-Man. But there was just so much going on in the movie. That's the biggest problem with the film, is there's too much story. There's too much stuff going on.
Andrew Garfield in this film is the best Peter Parker and Spider-Man out of any of the Spider-Man movies, I think. He nailed this role. He was Spider-Man and Parker in this film, period. But the problem was, he was so good in the film, and the film wasn't that great, so he pretty much wasted his fantastic performance in this film.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Because I liked him a lot more in this movie than I did in the first one. Because in the first one, he was so... it was like he muddled his lines and he would just murmur, and half the time he didn't even talk. And then this one, he's just talking away. I mean, dialogue everywhere.
Gwen Stacy was really good. I think Jamie Foxx was great once he became Electro. And Harry Osborn, I thought he was really good, creepy. And, I mean, all the acting performances were pretty good, wrapped up in a movie that wasn't that great of a film.
All of them gave really good performances. Emma Stone, Andrew Garfield, Jamie Foxx, all of them. Even the guy that played Harry Osborn, Leonardo DiCaprio, he he did really good too.
All right, so for our second film of the Big Five, it's not looking very good so far this summer. Hopefully, it picks up. But let's bring up the old Maniac meter and see what we're going to give it.
Well, like I said, I liked the film. There was things I liked about the film. There was things I didn't care for. Mostly the story, the whole story, 19 freaking stories in here. But overall, it's not that bad of a movie. It's okay and mediocre, and that's my problem with the movie. So being that it's a mediocre film, I would have to give it 2.5 out of 5.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking. You gave the exact same score I was giving it. Yeah, it's definitely a 2.5 out of 5 film. Make sure you check out our Facebook page, get on there and like it, and so you don't miss any news or reviews or anything that's going on in the Maniac Mansion.